Hi, my name's Amy Nelson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a registered play therapist, trained autism specialist, and founder of Emotional Milestones. Welcome, and thank you for downloading the Setting Limits Cheat Sheet, 3 simple steps for setting limits with your child. With this powerful information, you, my friend, are one step closer to doing it differently. One of the most common concerns that parents and other caregivers frequently come to me with is, how do I manage my child's misbehavior? We know that kids act out for all sorts of reasons, but whatever the reason, it's always stressful to both the adult and the child when they do. In fact, I was just talking to a mom the other day and she said, "Amy, I hate that I yell, but I hate how they act even more." And this is so true for so many parents that I work with. The thing is, when we want to get our kids to listen or to follow through with something, it's important to address the child's behavior in a way that they can actually understand. And this is where most grown-ups get it wrong. See, saying it louder isn't going to help if we're not actually speaking in a language that their brains can process. Children's brains are different from adult brains, so we have to be able to communicate limits and consequences in a child-appropriate manner. That's why I wanted to share with you my go-to strategy for setting limits with anyone, with the ACT method. This was developed by Dr. Gary Landreth, who's like the grandfather of play therapy, and it involves 3 simple, adaptable steps. I'm going to walk you through those steps right now, but don't worry about writing anything down. You're going to get a handy-dandy cheat sheet that spells it all out. Step 1, acknowledge the desire. Validating a child's feelings helps them to feel heard and understood. And this doesn't go for just children. This works for adults too. Try it. Next time you are upset for some reason, call your best friend. And if they immediately go into problem-solving mode, I'm going to guess that you start to get a little annoyed. But if they stop and say, "Oh, Amy, that sounds so hard," immediately your brain relaxes. It goes from this red mode to a green mode, and you're able to hear the information. Kids are no different. So when we validate their feelings, we help their brain go from closed and rigid to open and ready to hear new information. Acknowledging the emotion gives language to the feeling, which helps grow your child's social emotional vocabulary. And it's always okay for a child to have a feeling, but it's not okay to behave destructively or act inappropriately. Don't worry, validating their feelings does not mean that you accept their behavior. We're going to address that in step number 2. And here's a pro tip when acknowledging the desire. Your voice must convey empathy and understanding. When you communicate understanding in a real, authentic way, it's going to calm their brain and make these next steps much easier. Step number 2, communicate the limit. Remember, validating feelings does not mean that they can do whatever they want. That's why we communicate the limit. In this process, it's important to remember that you're saying no to the behavior and not to the child themselves. This puts the focus on the child's actions rather than judging their feelings or desires. The tip here, keep it specific and brief. You'll see what I mean in a moment when we dive into this formula. And step number 3, target acceptable alternatives. Behaviors are much easier for a child to change than feelings are, which is why the 3rd step is to offer choices of alternative ways to behave. Simply telling a kid no is going to lead them to feel frustrated. Like the rest of us, kids are just trying to have their needs met. We just need to teach them how to do it appropriately. In this step, you're going to offer other ways that they can express themselves that are acceptable to you. Choices are key. The ability to make their own choice is what helps them learn responsibility and problem solving. Now, if you have a younger child, you're going to offer 2 choices, red cup, blue cup. And if you have children that are a little bit older, they can handle maybe 2 or 3 choices. So you're definitely going to want to think about age and developmentally appropriateness when you think of this step. The pro tip on this one, offer choices that also meet the need or the desire. You're going to get a sample of what I mean by this when we put it all together in just 1 second. So let's take a look at this process in action. This is an example that actually came up in my life a couple of weeks ago when I was with my nephew Mayan in the park. So those of you that have seen my Thrive and Vibe videos, you know Mayan. He is a very rambunctious, now 4-year-old, and I took him to the park. And in this park, they had a climbing rope that had not been maintained, and so it wasn't tethered to the ground like it was supposed to be. So all of these bigger kids were taking the rope and they were swinging from it and jumping off, swinging from it and jumping off. And Mayan wanted to do the same. I don't blame him, but the rope wasn't safe to swing and jump. That's not what it was created for. So I had to set the limit, and this is what it sounded like. Acknowledge the desire. Oh, Mayan, I know that swinging on that rope looks so cool. It looks like so much fun. Notice, I'm validating exactly what's in his mind. Swinging from that rope does look like fun. Step 2, communicate the limit. But this rope is not for swinging. I kept my words short and concise. This rope is not for swinging. He doesn't need a further explanation than that. He's only 4. Step 3, target alternatives. You can choose to swing on the swings if you want to swing, or you can choose to climb the rope, but I'll have to help you. So, when targeting the alternatives, I made an effort to meet the need that I thought he was seeking. If he wanted to swing, then the swings were an appropriate alternative. However, if he just had his eye on that rope and he wanted to do something with that rope, then he had to use it as intended, which means I had to help. Well, if you know Mayan, then you can guess what choice he made. He wanted to climb that darn rope. And so I held on to the bottom of it, and he tried to scoot up the rope that was already broken. And you know what? He gave it like 3 or 4 good faith tries, couldn't really make it happen, and got down. And we went to the swings, and I pushed him really high. And he was distracted and all done from that silly rope. The other bigger kids, they were still swinging on the rope, but Mayan had been satiated, so he no longer was begging and pleading to go swing on the rope. I set a limit that allowed him in a safe way to test it in a way that I was willing to accept, and we moved on. And it didn't feel that bad to do it. The ACT method is my go-to process for setting limits with kids of all ages. This system works because children like to do what they can do. With this process, you're helping your child learn alternative ways to manage their feelings without dismissing their feelings. This is the foundation of building those savvy social emotional skills. And bonus, it's going to make your job easier over time. Just like learning any new skill, practice makes perfect. So, to get started, download your Setting Limits cheat sheet and join me in a happy dance because you, my friend, are one step closer to doing it differently. And check your email because I'll be sharing some other awesome parenting tips with you in the coming days to help build your child's sense of self-control and responsibility. But if you're a super type A type parent and you have a brain that's saying, yeah, Amy, this is great, but I need to get my kid on track now, then I want to invite you to skip the line and check out the link at the end of this video that will give you a sneak peek into my brand new parenting course that gives you the tools to finally eliminate daily meltdowns and improve your relationship with your child. Just follow the link to learn more. I'll see you soon.